Today in this video, let's deal with the mechanism of action of fluoroquinolones. Before dealing with the mechanism of the action, let's deal with the introduction part of the quinolones. These are basically the synthetic antimicrobials that were primarily active against the gram-negative bacteria having a quinolone structure, and later the stability of this quinolone structure were fluorinated. By the fluorination process, the stability of these quinolones has increased, and it also show the effect against some of the gram-positive bacteria. So basically the fluoroquinolones are active against the gram-negative bacteria, and fluoroquinolones are active against both the gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria also. So coming into the history part, naldexic acid. It is the first compound discovered in the year 1960 with the limited uses. It has a very limited uses which were used to treat the GI infections and other urinary tract infections because they had very low potency, high resistance rate and restricted spectrum to treat. So in 1980, the fluorinated compounds were achieved which were having the greater stability, good tolerance, high potency and low resistance to the bacteria, and it has a expanded spectrum. Coming into the chemistry part of this naldexic acid is a quinolone compound, whereas the ciprofloxacin structure is a fluoroquinolone, which means the in fluoroquinolones at the 6th position the fluorine has been added, which increased the stability of the compound and showed a greater potency with high efficacy rate and good tolerance and very high spectrum rate. Whereas in the naldexic structure, instead of the fluorine, the methyl structure has been present, which had a very limited use for it. Like it was used to treat only the urinary tract infections and GI infections. So, in the ciprofloxacin structure, at the 7th position, piperazine was added, which shows a very good therapeutic effect. Coming to the fluoroquinolones in detail. So, these are the synthetic antimicrobials with the fluorine substitution. So there are different types of fluoroquinolones where one or more fluorine compounds have been added to the quinolone structure. Further, they have been developed extending its microbial activity graph for gram-positive cocci and some of the anaerobes and conferring its metabolic stability. These compounds are known as second generation antibiotics, fluoroquinolones. Coming to the classification of the fluoroquinolones, first generation chlorophenolones and second generation chlorophenolones are present. So the first generation fluoroquinolones are norfloxacin and ofloxacin and ciprofloxacin and pefloxacin. And coming to the second generation fluoroquinolones, levofloxacin and sparfloxacin, moxifloxacin and lomifloxacin, gemifloxacin and prolifloxacin. So the prototype drug for this all fluoroquinolones is ciprofloxacin. Next, coming to the mechanism of action. Before going into the mechanism of the action, we should be knowing about the central dogma structure. So what is central dogma? Central dogma is a process by which the DNA is being converted into different products. Suppose if DNA is going to replicate, it is going to give the DNA structure again. If the DNA is undergoing the transcription process, then it gives the RNA as a product, and DNA can also give proteins. So generally, let's think the DNA is very long. How does this DNA fits into the cell? So for fitting into the cell, basically the DNA is double stranded. It can be coiled. Even though if it is coiled, such a long strand cannot be fitted into the cell. In order to fit, it has been adjusted to the supercoiling feature, and it has been supercoiled and it has been situated in the nuclei, and it has been functioning the whole cell. So in the mechanism, now let's go into the mechanism of the action of fluoroquinolones. Because these fluoroquinolones are basically the DNA and RNA synthesis inhibitors. Basically, these fluoroquinolones act on the enzyme DNA gyrase. DNA gyrase is similar to the topoisomerases, but DNA gyrase is also known as topoisomerase 2. It is very similar to the topoisomerases. And the fluoroquinolones inhibit this DNA gyrase and thereby prevent the DNA synthesis. So, the DNA gyrase is a main enzyme that is responsible for the synthesis of the DNA and RNA. So, before going into the mechanism of the action, let's see about the DNA gyrase briefly. DNA gyrase is being substituted into consists of the two subunits, subunit A and subunit B. The basic functions of the subunit A is sneaking of the DNA, and after that the subunit B will come and introduces the negative supercoils, and again the subunit A will be activated and it reseals the strand. So let's briefly know about the supercoiling process. Supercoiling is a process in which the recoiled DNA is being again recoiled. So it forms into the mass-like structure. So in order to remove this complex coiling, we need a positive coiling and negative coiling. Positive coiling is something which increases the coil rate, and negative supercoiling is a process which tries to remove the coils. So in order to remove the coils, there are two processes. One, in the DNA structure there are generally two strands. One, basically they can cut one strand and loosen the coil, and in other process the two coils can be cut at once and again joined by some enzymes to prevent this coiling process. So now let's go detail into the mechanism of the action. See, in DNA replication process, this double-stranded DNA, with the help of some enzymes, it is being unwinding, means the coil is being removed so that new strands are being formed at the unwinding structures and new DNAs are being formed. So what are the enzymes that are responsible for the DNA replication? The DNA gyrase and DNA helicases are the enzymes that are responsible for the replication process. So, when the quinoline or fluoroquinoline compounds come and attack the DNA gyrase, it becomes into a complex, and thereby the next process will not be taken place. So it just forms a complex, and next synthesis of the newer DNA will not be taken place, and later it forms all the complexes and leads to the cell death. See, when the DNA is normally a double stranded, and later with the help of the enzyme DNA gyrase, it is being unwinded into two separate structures. Later, if the fluoroquinolones get attacked to the topoisomerase structure, it can form into the protein independent structures and protein dependent structures. These are the useless structures present in the cell. If these complexes are being accumulated in the cell, it can lead to the cell death. See, if you go into the detail of this is a double-stranded DNA and topoisomerase structure. So, how does this fluoroquinolone comes and attacks? While the replication process, topoisomerases or DNA gyrases comes and attach to the DNA strands, and this quinolone compounds comes and attacks this topoisomerase structure. So, the cleaving process which is to be continued by the topoisomerase will be blocked, and at the place of this enzyme a complex will be formed by the topoisomerases and the fluoroquinolones, and thereby the further process cannot be continued in the replication, and this may lead to the cell death. So if we go into the molecular level, let's see how these fluoroquinolones will be attacking this replication process. See, basically these fluoroquinolones will attack the subunit A part of DNA gyrase. So, what are the functions of the subunit A? It causes the nicking of the DNA and reseals the strand. If the resealing and the nicking of the DNA process is being stopped, and it will start producing the positive supercoils, which means the coiling rate of the DNA strand will be increasing a lot, and it forms a complex, and this complex may not function properly, and if the population of this complexes increases, it may lead to the death. So these are the antibiotics which primarily affect the DNA synthesis process and thereby kill the bacteria. Not exactly kill, it can static, means it can stop the growth or indirectly kill. Let's see the adverse effects of this fluoroquinolones and the interactions. The common adverse effects that are being observed are the gastrointestinal effects. Those are nausea. Nausea is like sense of vomiting, and vomiting, bad taste, anorexia, and diarrhea. Diarrhea is something like a watery loose stools. And coming into the central nervous system, it causes the headaches, vomiting, restlessness, anxiety, which is kind of anger, and insomnia, which is the deficiency of the sleep, and dexterity and seizures. Seizures are something also known as epilepsy. And coming to the it also causes the skin and hypersensitivity reactions, which is not so common in all the patients. Like it causes the rashes, photosensitivity, swelling of the lips, and they become literally red color. And it may cause pruritus. Tendon damage is a very rare condition where it occurs around 1 lakh in one condition. And the common interaction with the other drugs are plasma concentration of the theophylline, warfarin, and caffeine is increased when you take simultaneously with the ciprofloxacin. And NSAIDs may also increase the toxicity of the fluoroquinolones. If you take fluoroquinolones together with the NSAIDs, it may increase the toxicity. We can't say that it will increase the toxicity. It may increase the toxicity. And antacids and sucralfate reduces the absorption of the fluoroquinolones. If the absorption levels are decreased, the action of the drug will decrease. So, coming into the uses of this fluoroquinolones, let's see the uses. A brief review I'll be giving regarding the uses. See, coming into the uses, basically it is used for the urinary tract infection. In the case of urinary tract infection, there are very high cure rates are being observed by this drug. Even in the case of prostatitis. But the infections that are being caused by the Pseudomonas respond slowly or it does not respond. Coming into the case of gonorrhea, 500 mg dose of ciprofloxacin was given and there was a 100% curative. But the cure rate has been decreased in the case of increased resistance. As day by day the patients are consuming the ciprofloxacin, the gonorrhea causing bacteria has developed resistance to itself, so that it cannot act towards the ciprofloxacin. It has been protecting itself. And coming into the chancroid, 500 mg twice a day for 3 days is an alternative drug treatment if azithromycin and ceftriaxone is not suitable for the patient. In the case of the bacterial gastroenteritis, it is an empirical therapy for diarrhea. In the severe cases, it is being treated if it is caused by Shigella bacteria, Campi, and Salmonella bacteria. So, in the case of the typhoid, fluoroquinolones plays a very major role. It is a first drug of choice in typhoid. However, the normal resistance to various species has been developed. Ceftriaxone was more commonly used and ciprofloxacin is given in the dose of 750 mg twice a day for 10 days. And there are many advantages of ciprofloxacin in the case of typhoid. If you take the ciprofloxacin, it has been observed that the fever has been usually subsides in the course of 4 to 5 days, and there were early abundant of symptoms, like the symptoms were not shown as much if you haven't taken the drug, and the prevention of the carrier state due to the cidal action. Coming to the bone, soft tissues and gynecological problems, it is being caused by resistant staphylococcus and gram-negative bacteria, but it responds to ciprofloxacin. It's a great advantage. And the cure rates are being observed in the case of osteomyelitis, joint infections, which is caused by the bacteria, but prolonged treatment is required in the case of this joint infection, which is caused by the bacteria. In the case of the diabetic food therapy, a combination treatment with the ciprofloxacin has given a good effect. Like ciprofloxacin and clindamycin in a combination therapy showed a best cure rate for diabetic food therapy. And in the case of respiratory infections, you should be observed that it should not be given in the case of pneumococci and streptococci infections, because it has a low susceptibility rate. It won't respond even though if you give ciprofloxacin to pneumococci and streptococci bacterial infections, but it can treat other bacterial infection besides from the gram negative. But several second generation antibiotics are available even for the treatment of pneumonia and bronchitis, chronic bronchitis condition. Chronic is something like extended part. And the tuberculosis. In the case of tuberculosis, it is a second line choice of the drug, which can be used in the combination with chemotherapy against a multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. Coming to the gram-negative infection, parenteral ciprofloxacin plus third generation cephalosporins or aminoglycosides can be given. In the case of meningitis, even the rate of penetration of the ciprofloxacin in the cerebrospinal fluid is been low, but ciprofloxacin was successful in treating the gram-negative bacterial meningitis. In prophylaxis, infections in the neutropenic or the cancer and other susceptible patients are being used. In the conjunctivitis, it showed effective only if used in a topical way. Topical therapy is only shown effective in the case of ciprofloxacin. These are some of the uses of the ciprofloxacin. Thank you for watching my video. If you like it, please like, do, share, subscribe. Thank you guys.